Treasurer, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. That is a huge number, a disturbing number, $60 billion. Do you think that's about right?
Well, we've never seen an economic shock the scale of the coronavirus, and it's affected countries right around the world, including us here at home. But as you know, we've responded very quickly, comprehensively, spending and committing around $320 billion, or around 16% of GDP, and we're confident that Australia will get through the coronavirus and come out stronger on the other side.
So hearing reports this morning that, China knew about this, or doctors first reported on late December, but they didn't say it was infectious until January 20. If we had had that additional time, to say that we would have been able to stop 95% of the spread, we'd be looking at a very different global economy right now, wouldn't we?
Well, this is the reason why we do need to have an independent, transparent investigation into the origins of the coronavirus. We're always going to defend Australia's national interest. We're always going to speak up about what is in Australia's national interest. We're not going to trade health outcomes for trade outcomes. We are going to speak up for what we think is really important, and that is an independent, transparent and open investigation into the origins of the coronavirus.
OK, so the Communist Party's Daily Bugle, the People's Daily, published a comment yesterday, according to the Fin Review, which has led the way on this story this week, accusing Australian politicians of pandering to the United States, and said the push for a global investigation would fail. How do you respond?
Well, we reject such comments. The reality is that the coronavirus has killed thousands and thousands of people right around the world. It's disrupted economies in a way that we've never seen before, and that is why we need this independent and open investigation. Our economic partnership with China is very important to both countries. Around 60% of China's iron ore comes from Australia. Last year alone, Carl, that was enough iron ore to create enough steel to build 10,000 Sydney Harbour bridges. And as you know, Australia's agriculture is the freshest in the world. Our universities are among the best in the world, and that's of great advantage to China. So too, our export markets with China create thousands of jobs here in Australia, and we want that economic partnership to continue. But we will speak up for our national interests. We will be clear and consistent, and we won't bow to economic coercion.
This is, I think, in my memory, one of the most significant I guess, breaking of the relationship that we've seen in the last, I guess, couple of years. This is a very significant escalation of diplomatic language and of a breakdown in our relationship. Are you concerned that will then fold into concerns about our economy, about them pulling out, about the tourists not coming here in any way, shape or form, about the threats that were mentioned by the ambassador in the last couple of days?
Well, the two-way trading relationship with China is worth over $200 billion. About a third of our exports go to China. Chinese students are the greatest source of international students to Australia. Chinese tourists are the greatest source of international tourists to Australia. So there is a very important partnership there, which I believe is mutually beneficial, and I believe will continue to be the case. But when it comes to Australia's economic and strategic interests, we've got to continue to speak up as the Australian people would expect us to do, and that's what the Prime Minister and my colleagues have done, and I'll continue to do. China's not going anywhere. It's a country of more than 1 billion people, and Henry Kissinger had some wise words when he wrote this really excellent book on China, and he said, basically, if you look back over the last 2,000 years, Carl, China's been the #1 economy in the world for 1,800 of those years. It was only with the Industrial Revolution that their economy got overtaken by the West. So it's of course understandable that China wants to resume its economic position in the world, but at the same time there are global rules, and we expect all players to comply with those, and when they don't, then we'll speak up about it.
Okay.
Well, let's focus on what's happening here now. The economic impact of this is outpacing the Great Depression. How much trouble are we in right now, and do you expect it to get worse before it gets better?
Well, there's 2 points for your viewers to note. The first is we have approached this crisis from a position of economic strength. I mean, growth was rising prior to this crisis, unemployment was falling, and the budget was in balance for the first time in 11 years. This gave us the financial firepower to respond as we have, and we've spent more money than many other comparable nations. That, I think, puts us in a good position to bounce back stronger on the other side. And of course, we've had great success in flattening the curve and reducing the daily number of increases in coronavirus cases. So with the flattening of the curve comes the easing of the restrictions. We've already made announcements around elective surgery. We want kids to get back to school. Some states are already doing that. And the quicker they get back to school, I think the better we'll all be.
The quicker they'll have money in their pocket.
I like the sound of that. Treasurer, thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.